thanks for joining us today. We are going to take a look at North from House of X. He's number 64. Let's get right to it. North is coming in with the Horsemen, X-Men, and Future keywords. The Horseman keyword there, you'll notice that that is a new keyword. I think that it's only in the House of X so far. So different than the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is an older keyword. So this one might have some team builds, but just within House of X right now. Of course, X-Men has a ton of builds, and Future has some pretty solid characters there too. Okay, he is coming in with two traits. And the first trait is when North uses the X-Men team ability to heal another character, this turn that character's attack value becomes 12. Also, when another character uses the X-Men team ability to heal North, this turn his attack and damage values become equal to that of the character's printed values. So your X-Men team ability allows you to take one figure to take a power action to choose an adjacent friendly character that can use the X-Men team ability, and then you heal that character one click. Afterwards, you roll a d6. On a result of 1 through 4, the character that took the power action is dealt 1 unavoidable damage. So that could come into play on your X-Men builds. The first part of it, I think, is okay to be able to heal up one of your figures and then give them a 12 attack value is good. His second trait is Energy Shield Deflection. When North is targeted by a non-adjacent character, for that attack, you may choose that he can't use Energy Shield Deflection and instead increases the results of his Impervious and Super Senses roll by +1. So dependent on the situation, that could give you a higher rollout probability, but you lose the Energy Shield Deflection. Now, ways that could come into play. The Energy Shield Deflection is on his on this trait, so he has it throughout his dial, and then his Super Senses is on his special defense power, along with the Impervious. So there's a few clicks on his dial that if you get rid of Energy Shield Deflection, you do have Impervious and Super Senses to take advantage of. Now, even though the trait is telekinetic shielding, he could still be have his Energy Shield Deflection outwit by somebody, in which case you can use this trait to not use the Energy Shield Deflection and then increase his rolls. Another time that it could come into play is if your attacker has a super high attack value, and so that the probability wouldn't change that much between hitting a 17 and a 19, in which case your rollouts would be more to your advantage. So it's kind of nice to have and gives you some options, which is cool. Okay, his special movement power is Run and Shot. When he uses it, after resolutions, he can use either TK or Mind Control at no cost. And that's really in my opinion, the unique thing that he brings. It's a pretty cool ability. And then he has the special defense power, which is Impervious and Super Senses. Okay, he is coming in at 150 or 75 points. He has a 7 range dual target. He flies. You'll notice that he does not have Indom, which is, or willpower in any variety. So I think that's his biggest drawback. At 150, you're getting 7 clicks. At 75, you're getting 4 clicks. The 150 starting click has the special Run and Shot. He has Pen Psi. He has the special defense, Impervious Super Senses, and then Shape Change. So on that top click, and it's this almost the same power set at 75, he's just exchanging the Pen Psi for TK. But on those 2 clicks, you're starting with Impervious or Shape Change. Then if they get through that, you have impervious, and super senses. So you have 3 rollouts. If you get rid of your energy shield deflection with your trait, then it increases 2 of those rollouts to 4 through 6. So those are a lot of things that make him hard to target and hard to hit, even though he does have a short dial for both point values. But you do have a ton of ways to get out of being hit on those. He moves into a couple clicks of outwit on click 2 and 3 if you play him at full points. On the lower dial, he is going to have the special run and shot on his top click, then moves into regular run and shot. He has the TK. He has the last click, which includes pulse wave, but there's no stop click or anything there. So it's quite possible that you get hit right past that final click. So if you land on it, 12 pulse wave 4 damage with run and shot is great, but it's just as easy that you never get to use that click because it gets you can be hit right past it. All right, let's take a look at the special movement power that he has and how that plays out on the battlefield. Okay, let's take a look at this type of scenario. We have North down there in the bottom corner. He's going against 4 opponents, a couple of Doombots, Zemo, and Radioactive Man. Now he flies and has run and shot, which is great because he can go right over top of that elevation. And he has dual target, so he should be able to get in a position where he can have his choice of who he wants to hit. So let's look at what one type of run and shot setup would be. He could run and shot up to this corner of elevation. He has 4 damage, dual target, pen psi. So if he wanted to just deal a few clicks of damage to what would be the main attackers, so Zemo and Radioactive Man, he could target them right from where he's at. Since he's on elevation, he can see over top of Zemo to get the Radioactive Man also. Okay, another option, he could try to hit Doombot and Zemo. The 2 penetrating damage should be enough to get through Doombot. Then he'd deal a little bit of damage to Zemo. In that kind of setup, he could then follow up with Mind Control into Radioactive Man to then deal some more damage to Zemo. Or he could follow up with Mind Control onto Zemo to try to hit Radioactive Man. Okay, another way you could run this is you could single target pen psi into Zemo to give him all 4 of the damage. Then you could follow up with Mind Control onto Radioactive Man to try to finish off Zemo as the main threat. So that's one way you can use his special movement and the Mind Control follow-up in that special movement. Okay, next we're going to look at how you can use the TK piece. But on this type of setup, you can also use TK to your advantage. So if you had your other teammates in some type of position, maybe they're down in these squares, but where they could maybe reach the opponent, maybe have somebody up here on elevation. North could do the same type of thing that we just showed. He could dual target to get rid of that Doombot and to hit Zemo. Then he could follow up with TK. He could TK Zemo up into this square for some follow-up. Or there's nothing that's saying he has to TK or mind control people that he hit. He can just use it as free. So he could follow up with a TK over here on the Radioactive Man to pull him up into these squares. The elevation's nice because he can see it, can grab Radioactive Man from behind Zemo, and then pop him up here for follow-up attacks from his teammates. Okay, on the next slide, we'll look at some more options of how you can use that TK. Okay, and this kind of setup, your opponents are bunched up. Uh, then what would this would usually be a super safe type of setup. They're behind blocking terrain. There's elevation between them and north, and they're relatively far away. But north, he has a really far reach with run and shot. He can move 6 and then shoot 7, so he can reach people. 11 attack is pretty good on his high point value, and that 4 damage is solid. So in this type of scenario, he could run and shot, fly, run and shot right over top of that elevation. 4 damage split between 2 Doombots is enough to get rid of them both. And then he can open up the rest of that team then for some follow-up moves. If they were using Doombots as kind of their meat shields, then North's teammates could then follow up and hit the main attackers. You could also use your free TK on yourself as North to get out of the situation. So it's a roundabout way of doing a sort of hypersonic type of attack, except without some of the drawbacks that hypersonic has. So you could run and shot in, make your attacks, and then TK yourself out of there. And that kind of setup, he could then TK himself back up to that square he could see on that elevation to get himself into a more defensible position. All right, now that we've looked at the characters, let's go ahead and give him some ratings based on competitive and casual. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the biggest drawback is the lack of willpower. And then the keywords are not super competitive either. I do like that run and shot special. It's pretty cool and it should be fun to play, but let's see how it rated out. On the competitive side, 150 points for what he brings. I just don't see it. I'm not going to give him 0. He gets a half click because there's somebody out there that could probably work out a team that uses him, maybe some equipment. But yeah, I don't see much use at all competitively. On the casual side, at this point value, 150 on a standard 300 team, that's half your team for North. I don't see him bringing enough to the table for his theme, for his keywords, usually a bigger team. So X-Men, a lot of lower point characters are better to kind of get the teamwork going. So I don't really see it on the casual side either. I do agree that his run-in shot is pretty fun and is a unique thing, but I don't see him working very much on a casual team. At his 75 points, same drawbacks and the same ratings. Even at that lower point value, I see a lot of better competitive options out there. His dial is super short, so and for what he does, you want to be moving him around, and I just don't see it competitively. On the casual side, same thing for X-Men teams. 75 points, you could fit in other characters that bring more than North. But I would also say it'd be fun to run him a few times to get to use that special run and shot. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down below, and thanks for watching. Check it out. If you dig what we do, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.